As drivers head throughout a season, sometimes it gets tough, sometimes it gets easy, but for the drivers here tonight, they're going to probably one of the trickiest tracks to head to in an Indy car. We're here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca tonight for the next round of the Indy Elite Series. The championship is winding up, and the championship, however, is far from over. The points are close up near the top of the standings as Brandon Trejo is feeling some heat after a mistake last week at Gateway, or last race, I should say, at Gateway, causing him to lose quite a bit of points. We'll see how they wrap up. We'll see how they stack up here tonight, here from Laguna Seca. My name is Finidi Laguna, here with Connor Horn. Connor, glad to have you back with me for some IndyCar action here. And these guys, as always, I'm expecting them to put on a blast around here.
Yeah, it should be fun. I think it's the second race here that I've called with you in IndyCar, so it should be a fun one. Laguna Seca, always fun to lap, especially in an IndyCar, because the amount of downforce, the sense of speed in these cars is like no other. So it should be a blast of 50-lap race, and you have to run both compounds of tires, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Got 23 cars in the field tonight. Any one of them could probably win it.
Yeah, they definitely can. We also have to thank 40 Race Fair, the sponsor for tonight's race. Race fans, makers of the 40 Race Fair is the makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 sim racing shoes are custom engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, and still provide all the comfort needed for those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the original racing gloves for your feet. Qualifying has started here for these drivers, and a lot of them are just getting out there on the racetrack to warm up. And let's get down to see really who's going to be the one who's going to be starting on pole, because, Connor, I think you and me can both attest that around here, qualifying is going to be fairly key.
Yeah, I would think so. It's going to be tough to make passes in a 50-lap race, so starting at the front is going to be an absolute must. Can't afford to make any mistakes, so we'll see who's the first to crack as we're on board with Brian Carey. He's through the first couple of corners here. A little tougher, a little bit of an easier section, I would say, at this point. Really hard to mess up here besides turns 1 and 2. Already dipping a few tires into dirt.
And we talked about drivers in the championship hunt. Christian Steele, one of them here, is working through the back half of the lap. He's just about to finish up one of his laps as the first few times from drivers are trickling on in. Andreas Ike at the top, Joshua Tucker in second in the 44. He's given up on making a faster second lap. A couple more across the line, and here comes Christian Steele. He really needs some good points. Only 36 behind Brandon Trejo heading into these final rounds. Just being round 12 of the 16, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have planned. Christian Steele across the line up in third. Kevin Burrell, who we were just looking at, I think, a little while before, he is up on first. Jesper Orman in the number 53 back in 8th. I think he had a mistake on that lap. I think he probably could improve. We'll see if he jumps up. Julian Altona across the line in the number 11. Notably, Brandon Trejo waiting out a while to get out on his lap. He's on his warm-up lap, so we'll cut to him. He's our points leader coming into tonight in the number 9 machine.
And he's the points leader, I believe, if my count's correct. It's 36 points over Christian Steele. 8 top 5s, 9 top 10s. It's been a great season for Trejo. He has 6 more wins than Christian Steele, but when he's not in the top 10, the finishes are not great enough to the point where it is only a 36-point gap, but still incredibly fast whenever he's in an IndyCar. As we on board with Joshua Tucker through the corkscrew, that's going to be a tough spot to do anything if you're going side by side through there. So that's going to be one of the trouble spots we look at as Tucker's in here. 6th on the board, a minute 7.45, which is about 1.4 seconds off of the current provisional pole time. We'll see if this lap is any faster.
Yeah, actually, he's on a slow lap. He made a mistake, so he's down the order. We'll cut back to him. I think he's on a third flying lap. Let's see how he performs. Rashad Craig is actually working pretty well. 4/10 up on his previous lap in the 21 machine, working through the corkscrew back in 10th. If he can nail this lap, it should put him up in the top 5. It's just a matter of executing, though, throwing the car into these final few corners, relying on the downforce of this car, and then getting low down here for the final corner. A tight left-hander. Ooh, and he might have gone off the track.
Got a big slide on the exit. We'll see if this lap is clean. It is. It is faster. A minute 7.170. Good enough for 5th on the board. Solid
lap for him. Joshua Tucker, who we were looking at before he made a mistake his previous lap. He's looking good on lap number 3. It's a matter of can he execute and seal the deal. And he'll also bump up a couple of spots. Trying to look at really the fastest drivers at the moment. Tucker looking quick on his next lap. Christian Steele also looking up on his lap. We'll cut to him after Tucker crosses the line. This goes on back onto the front straightaway. He will go across. It'll be 1:06.9.
5th.
All left for him. Christian Steele also came across the line. He's up in third with that lap. Trying to check who else is out there. Rashad Craig also up on a decent flyer. And actually, Andreas Ike, looking at him, he is teetering on the chance of taking pole away. It doesn't matter, can he execute these last few corners?
6th in points, solid season, 8 top 10s. Second place on the podium last time we raced at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway. Looking for one spot better. Up the hill to the line, minute 6.2, second on the board. Solid lap there.
He improves but doesn't improve his position. Unfortunately, that's going to be all he's got. Hamilton Akabueze, Connor, this is a familiar name, can't speak. Familiar name to you, racing the VOR SF23 series that we are covering. He's pretty quick in that machinery. There's another Dallara, similar but also very different. Across the line for him, 106.7. Was that a clean lap? I don't think it was. So he's going to be out there again. So trying to put a lap. 3.5 minutes remaining in qualifying here.
Yeah, not too much longer to go as qualifying on the red tires, as I assume almost everyone will be. I don't think we're going to see any strategy as far as starting on blacks. The black set of tires is one of the few cars still on track. Team I5G on the side pod. Brandon Treno's still also putting laps down on, I believe, their last flying lap. The minute 6.5 puts them fourth. They went slow on lap 2, probably gearing up for this final lap to put all the marbles in the basket trying to go for pole.
And it's looking quick. He's gone purple in a couple of places, getting faster and faster as he goes. He's about 2/10 up this lap. That should put him up into third, potentially teetering on getting to second. If he can nail really this next part of the lap through the corkscrew down and go in sector 3, it's so tough. You're literally throwing this car into these corners, trying to maximize the speed. Goes flying through the penultimate corner and into the final left-hander. On the brakes, a little bit of sand and getting on the tires as well. A little bit of a bump over the curb that might upset the car enough and might give him enough to get to pole. We'll see across the line, looking a couple tenths up, a 106.269. He's just off of second, so he'll be relegated back to third.
A little surprising. Lost a few tenths here or there. Actually ran faster by 3 tenths compared to what he did in practice. Kevin Burrell was fastest in practice and fastest on the fastest on the timesheet still, but no one's dipped into the minute 5 yet. Akabueze is still running around. See how hard they fired into the corkscrew. This is their final flying lap. Lock up into the corkscrew. You can see the rear end wiggle out a little bit. It's very easy for that to happen when you're trying to get back on the throttle and get it whipped back to the right side of the racetrack. That rear end is going to be very light at that point, and that is another reason why it's a trouble spot. He's actually going to pull in and give up on that lap. Ooh, don't crash on pit entry. It's good to practice it. Brian Carey came across the line 6th.
So he improved on his lap. Jacob Oster, one of the last few drivers to be out there and improving on his lap. 1.5 minutes remaining in qualifying. So if you're not already out there putting a lap, you're pretty much not going to get another one in. So for Oster, I mean, obviously this is his last time lap, his third and final lap. Up 0.4 of a second. He's looking pretty quick. Has a lot of time to gain, though. Might be challenging Hamilton Akabueze for that 5th position. He works through the back half of the lap.
Yeah, I would say last person on track here, so Oster's going to try to get into the top 5. Little wiggle in the last right-hander there into the final corner. Going to be tough, really tough to get out of this corner without going wide and getting a potential slowdown, or at least an incident point. We'll see what happens with that, as 106.843. It is their fastest lap, but they move up to 6th. They did not get that top 5.
And it looks like with that, qualifying will end. And we'll quickly take a look here at the session results. Kevin Burrell, solid lap for him, up on pole. Andreas like Brandon Treno back in third. His championship rival, Christian Steele, his main championship rival, I should say. Christian Steele going to be starting right behind him in 4th. Hamilton Akabueze in 5th. Oster, Carey, Tucker, Craig, and Seb Alexander rounding out the top 10.
Very tight, within a second, within the top 10 drivers, and it's going to be a dash into the Andretti hairpin once they get down there, as Alexander rounding out the top 10. So this is going to be an interesting race. Always entry to turn 1 can be a little bit tough because of that hairpin. You can almost run 2 lanes down there. You can run wide and get the run off, or you can go for the shallow entrance and maybe shut someone off, almost like the IndyCar equivalent of a slide job into turn in that Andretti hairpin. So that should be very interesting to see the run down into that corner.
Will be interesting to see, because I've always seen a lot of drivers mess up there, especially with the colder tires. It's something these drivers have to watch out for, not only on the initial start, but also when it comes down to pit lane here as we got gridding going on, and let's go through our starting lineup. Starting on pole, as we mentioned before, is going to be Kevin Burrell. Next to him, Andreas Ike, starting in second place in the 76.
Then third place right now, starting on the podium for today, is Brandon Treno, the series points leader, always fast, looking for win number 8 on the season. Alongside will be Christian Steele, who is his championship runner-up, behind by 36 points.
Moving on back to fifth, me Hamilton Nakaway's in the 107. Next to him, Jacob Oster, 6th in the 16. Currently third place in the points, couple of almost 126 points behind. He's going to have to hope for a lot to change in order to have a fight back there.
Brian Karen, the number 79, will start in the 7th position. Then the 8th position will go to Joshua Tucker in the 44th.
Moving on to 9th, Rashad Craig in the number 21. Next to him, Seb Alexander in the 49, lineup in 10th.
11th place will be Andrew Marquez, the number 36. Should be fun to watch him today. Alongside will be Andrew Z. Wood. He's in the number 64, 9th in points.
Moving on back to 13th is going to be AJ Musselman in the 54. Next to him, Pedro Babel in the 88, lineup in 14th.
15th place will be the 00. That's David Adams and Julian Altena, who we know from VOR. He's going to start at number 11 and 16th. He's 7th in points.
We go back to 17th with Alexander Ball in the number 12. Next to him, Jesper Owerman in the number 53, lineup in 18th.
19th position, Chris Stouffer, always recognizable. His number 13, Delara IR18. He starts 19th. Joe Branch in the 28 starts 20th.
Moving on back to 21st, Charles Ante in the number 26 and 21st. Next to Dan Inch in the 22nd car, in the 22 car in 22nd.
Which is very fitting. And the last runner tonight will be the number 69 of Mark A. Murphy. So that rounds out our 23-car field tonight as they just start their full pace lap.
Yeah, off they go into turn 1. We'll wait to see here again as we get going. 50 laps ready for tonight for these drivers. And you can see them all rolling off into turn 1. Let's take a quick look at our weather. Currently looking at 19.6 degrees Celsius in the air, 35 degrees Celsius in the track temp. I believe it's close to 100 if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty close. We're just about there. It is about 95 degrees to be exact.
Okay, I knew 30
Fahrenheit.
Okay, I was trying to remember. I'm too used to Fahrenheit. I know we have Celsius here for these cars. I'm too used to freedom units. Yeah, so 95 degrees on the track. So it's a bit slick for these drivers. It could be a lot worse. So obviously, I'd like it probably to be a little bit cooler, especially closer to the ambient air temperature. But definitely not something they can't handle. The big thing, though, again, it's going to be no matter how hot the track, it's these cold tires.
And the wind is about 3 miles an hour. I don't know what that kilometer stuff is, but either way, it's going to be the wind's really not going to be affecting these cars. And the one thing we'll have to look at on the start, not only how chaotic it might be, but we do have to note there's a few drivers not starting on the reds. I believe the furthest up not doing so is Christian Steele in his number 2. He will start on the black compound of tires. The harder compound will last longer, but the grip on the short run will not be as good. But we might see him on this very first run before they make their first pit stop, might charge through the field. And then the next highest up driver after Steele in 4th, that's on the black compound, is Pedro Blebel. He's in the 14th position. And then there's a number of drivers outside 15th who will start on that compound. Altena, Oreman, I believe Chris Stouffer as well. So watch those drivers at the back trying strategy to maybe get track position later in this race.
Yeah, I heard the black tire is going to be rough for these drivers tonight. It's finding some pace, but you never know. It depends on how the strategy works out. A lot of drivers in the front, though, starting on the reds. Pace car going to make the turn on a pit lane. Field in control of Kevin Burrell. Will be there come the end here. 50 laps on the clock for these drivers at Laguna Seca. And out of the final corner, they'll go the slow run to the start-finish line. They're off and away, and we are green here at Laguna Seca. Off into turn 1 they go, almost 3 wide. Brandon Treno almost actually able to make a move up to third. Up to second, he'll go Christian Steele fighting with Andreas Ike on those black wall tires. Does he have enough grip on those tires to make a move? They go side by side. Hamilton Akaways now try to take advantage of the situation. He will go up the inside of Christian Steele, almost contact.
They got really sideways. Here comes Carey to go 3 wide. That's not going to work, I don't think, but he's going to stick it to the inside. There's contact. Points gets crashed off track with Akaboise.
Christian Steele off in the gravel. Does he get the car off and away? Sitting there, and it looks like it might be a retirement. How unfortunate is that? He needed a good result, and it started right here when they went 3 wide.
Whoa, Brian Carey live just missed the corkscrew big time. He made contact with Steele down into that corner. I believe that's turn number 5, but he had a huge off in the corkscrew, as we'll get a look at that. But this is too early to make a move like that. I know track position support. There was no room for 3 cars in that spot.
Yeah, you mentioned Brian Carey. He made a mistake off into the corkscrew. We'll keep on board here on the replay to see what happened to him. Off from the corkscrew right here. Just made a mistake on the brakes when flying. Wow, almost cartwheeled over the track and into the tie barrier. So he's going to be done early. And I imagine those two, if this was in real life, would be throwing fists down in pit lane.
I would think so, because now they're both out of the race. Christian Steele, a full retirement from this race. So that points gap that was down to 36 points is going to expand once again as long as Treno has a solid night. That is not what Christian Steele needed. Huge for the point battle as he runs second after a decent start. But Kevin Burrell, he leads by a few tenths of a second. These two are already over 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field as we had another off track.
Had an issue. He was very slow and off the pace. Take a look and see if something happened. He's struggling.
Another one on the black compound. That was all I was going to note.
Yeah, I think that might have something to do with it. When it was already offline and then went off the track, was slow. And again, struggling to get these tires up to temperature. As for Orman in a battle here, I think he's also had another issue. Alexander Ball is the one he's dueling with at the moment. He will get past, and here comes Altena around the outside in the final corner, trying to plant his car alongside, but can't quite get there. The 53 will get the launch. He actually might have a better run here than Ball. We'll see what he can do. Actually, Orman and Ball both on using push to pass at the moment as they head off into turn 1.
Yeah, Ball blocked up in the final corner, so really was slow down the main straightaway, but good traction around the very inside of the Andretti hairpin gets him that position back. That's 13th position. That's what the battle's for. We're already pretty single file throughout the majority of the field, and only 2 retirements, and that were Christian Steele and Brian Carey on lap 1.
Yeah, not too surprising there, especially how much chaos was involved there. Hamilton Akbaweze, notably one of the other drivers involved. He's trying to get back in position, trying to assess the damage on the car. I thought I saw a side pod come off. That might have been just iRacing thinking that there might have been too much damage and over predicting it. So it looks like that side pod's still there and has minimal damage. He'll continue on. It was Andrew Wood. Andrew Marquez had an issue, and hello, this can be a battle here. There's Andrew Wood slowing off the pace. A huge gaggle of cars here coming out of the corkscrew. That's a very tight section of track, very much one lane, but they will make it on through. This battle's not done yet. Yeah,
Andrew Wood and Marquez actually clashed in the corkscrew. They had a spin, and they somehow kept it undamaged, but it's caused this whole stack up all the way at the rear of this field, close to the rear of this field, but it is now for the 12th position.
And Hamilton Akbaweze is trying to again make up that ground. He will try to outbrake Marquez in the other pink and black car. He will get on by, and we'll take this chance to go and see what on earth happened in the corkscrew.
Talk about it all the time. Trouble spot. You can see right there. He got caught a little early. This looks like Wood coming from behind. That's not gonna work. No. I don't think.
And fortunately for both of them, minor contact. Of course, the big issue, though, is losing a lot of track position and also overheating the tires.
Yeah, a little bit of a late move there to try that, but I don't think it was really a move. I think he just went into that corner faster than what I think he was anticipating and ran up on Marquez. Don't think it was intentional, but definitely a mistake, as now they're back. Woods in 16th. Marquez has recovered for the 14th position after Akbaweze came through, still ripping through the field. That 107 is going to be fast and on a tear. I was driving angry.
See the green on the steering wheel, push to pass activated. He will try to get past Altena using that, and I think Altena's probably going to let him on by. He knows that he's got a bigger strategy to play. And so there will go the 107 of Hamilton Akbaweze on by. Already 5 laps in. A lot of drama, especially in the overall points battle. Brandon Treno, effectively, as long as he can finish this out, should get a very nice lead in the points, with Christian Steele finishing back in 22nd. And one thing I was going to comment was how close the points are. Even though Treno has 7 wins to Christian Steele's 1, that's because Steele has been finishing extremely consistently. However, this is not going to help that argument.
No, this is going to be really tough and maybe impossible to recover from. Steele before tonight only had 1 finish outside of 6th place, and that was a 23rd at Iowa. Besides that race, all top 6s or better. But that's a different story tonight. Didn't even make it 4 corners, didn't make it 5 corners. Really, really unfortunate. I can imagine they're not going to be anywhere close to happy either, because that was egregious for lap 1.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of discussion in Discord in the Discord server after that. Trying to figure out what happened. Angel Musselman on the back of David Adams trying to chase him down. He's actually lost some ground. I wonder who hasn't lost a lot of ground. Jesper Orman is making up for him. I can't speak. Poor qualifying performance is up in 11th, even though he's on the Blackwall tires. He's been making some forward progress and is actually looking quicker than Musselman at the moment.
Yeah, definitely gaining just a little bit. He's the second highest driver on the black compound. It's behind Pedro Blevel. You can correct me if I'm saying it wrong, because I don't know, but he's in 8th position. Well, I hope I'm right, but either way, he's the highest driver up on this harder compound. He's in the 8th position after starting 14th, so even though, less grip on the short run, got through some of the chaos and up in the 8th position, so a good climb.
Yeah, we're expecting these drivers to go anywhere from the range of 18 to potentially 20, 21 laps is really pushing the upper limit. They're definitely not going to be able to one-stop this unless they do some extreme fuel saving, which I doubt they're really going to be able to do without giving up a huge amount of time. So we're looking at a 3-stop race for these drivers. It's Seb Alexander, he's on the push to pass, trying to catch up to Joshua Tucker, battle brewing for 6th. But that's what we're looking at, around 2 stops this race for 3 stints. 50 divided by 3. Not
about 17-ish.
There we go. Yeah, thank you.
15 to 17, somewhere around there. But who knows? We might see the drivers on the red compound. Maybe
oh no! Contact! Wow, Seb Alexander in the back of Joshua Tucker. His car goes flying off. Heavy damage to the front of that car, and that might be another retirement. Wow, that was completely unexpected.
I think this is a miscommunication. Almost looked like Tucker was lifting to let Seb Alexander by, because you wouldn't be breaking that early.
Yeah,
that had to be a miscommunication. I
heard the off throttle, and then where is Seb Alexander running in the corner? I want to go a little bit further back. Yeah, I think he got off the throttle a little bit more. We'll ride on board here with Seb Alexander and see what his point of view. Oh yeah.
I don't think he expected to be given the position, and I didn't hear anything in chat. In iRacing's chat, so there was no communication there that caused that. I think Alexander, at least from what I'm looking at live, might have gotten away with it. The nose looks fine there. Yeah, Joshua Tucker does not get away with it.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be missing the right side of that wing, which you really do need, especially at these road courses, but it looks like it's gotten back on the car. So he's all set to go.
Someone who does not have their nose all of a sudden is Julian Altena, from my point of view. We'll see if you see. He's missing half of his front wing.
Yeah,
so.
He's going to be feeling that. You kind of wonder for these drivers, how are they able to tell? You can definitely tell. The car feels significantly different.
When you can't turn into the corner anywhere, that's what's going to happen. And I looked back, it was the final corner last lap. There was contact with Andrew Wood in the final corner. Let's watch this. Wood to the inside, dives hard, and didn't really make the corner, I don't think. We need maybe a different view of that, but that's what takes the part of a nose off the 11. Let's see here. I mean, he's kind of to the apex.
He's kind of, you can argue, might have pushed the 11 off. We'll see what the stewards say about that.
Yeah.
It's the second incident for Andrew Wood, though, so it's not doing him any favors.
No, I don't think it's just, like you said, second bit of contact. Probably won't get the benefit of the doubt, especially not from Altena. So we'll see how that's handled. It's got pretty crazy. It seems like every time we do these races, these two, they get crazy.
Andrew Wood, big dive for him. He's been really throwing it in there. And this time he'll make it on through without any incident. So up to 11th for Andrew Wood. He's trying to make some forward progress. He got put back in 12th. Remember, he had that contact with Marquez that sent him back quite a few spots. So he's been on the climb, trying to make the climb forward. Same thing with Hamilton boys. He's been now trying to see if he can get up to Jesper Orman in the 53. Who's in 9th, and then it's kind of a bit of a train of cars in behind him, a couple seconds back from 9th.
It should be interesting to see how the drivers on the red compound play this 2-stop strategy. I would anticipate almost all these drivers would probably do their middle stint with the harder compound black tire, but we'll see if anyone wants to try to go back-to-back red compound and end on the black compound. I'm sure we'll see maybe a few drivers try that, but I would think you would want to do your harder compound stint in the middle and have the freshest and most gripped up tires for the end, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's kind of why the tire strategy makes this race interesting, is because these drivers kind of get thrown in a position where they need to try to kind of choose, do they want to go run the middle of the race a little bit more conservatively and then have the faster tire for the end, or do they want to have the faster tire in the middle, push more, and then round out the race with a slower tire, and then that adds to a little bit more action out on the racetrack, because there's a puff of smoke in the carousel prior to these guys entering through. I wonder if some driver before had some issue. That might have been Dan Ench in the 22 car, who was just up ahead of these drivers.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of a rough race. That's, no denying that. I didn't see much of a slide anywhere.
Oh, and a bad. Burrell caught him in a bad place in time. Treno coming from behind. On the push to pass, he will go side by side into turn 1.
Yeah, Burrell had control of this race, and that lap traffic really gave this lead over to Treno, I think. Treno was able to just drive in harder in the turn 1, and Burrell's going to lose the lead off that. He's not going to be happy. Huge mistake, maybe, by the 22, but really not much he could do. Just got caught at a bad spot, and the closing rate was so huge, so we'll see on the replay.
Yeah, you can see how much better of a run Treno got through that corner. That allowed him to get in behind and get the slipstream to make a move. So fantastic job from Treno, taking the opportunity. Was effectively handed to him on a silver platter right now. I don't see if Burrell has any response, because I don't think he was planning on having the lead overturned that quickly.
Definitely changes the strategy. You would think if you're in the lead, you're probably waiting for Treno to make the first move, but now Burrell, he might have to be the one to try to make the first move as far as going into pit lane, because now he's on just trying to keep up. He had about 9/10 of a second lead over Brandon Treno, and now it's half a second to Treno.
Back onto the straightaway to go. Kevin Burrell has not touched the push to pass at all this race. I think saving them up near the end. And of course, this car is significantly different with the push to pass, the way it works compared to the SF23 Super Formula car. Speaking of push to pass, Jacob Oster, he's on push to pass. And that's just to use it defensively to get away from Rashad Craig, who's been mounting up pressure from behind. But IndyCar, these cars still using the older version of the push to pass that they initially came out with, where they only had 10 uses per race. And as soon as you use it, that's one use gone. You get about 20 seconds to push to pass, and it disengages as soon as you let off 100% throttle. The newer version that IndyCar uses in the Real Life Series, they get, I forgot exactly how many seconds, but they get an allotment of seconds that they get to use, and you can use it wherever you want. As long as they're full throttle, you can use it on the shorter straightaways, longer straightaways, and I personally like that, the version of push to pass. And from what iRacing said, that the IRA team's getting some updates, I'm hoping we finally get the modern version of it.
Sure hope so. Yeah, I like that version too. You just, don't run out, don't run yourself out of it, which it might be a little bit easier to run out of with just seconds instead of allotted set of push to pass, but I would be hopeful that we do get that updated set of push to pass, because it's been a little while.
A little while is another statement. I think we've had this old version of the push to pass change.
I think in the old car.
Yeah, I think it was I think it might have changed with the old car. If not, I think it was till 2018, 2019. So it's been a couple of years. So hopefully that changes. Ooh, Hamilton on the way. So Orman in the pits.
Yeah. In the pits, this is a little on the black compound as well. So this is like almost a bailout of strategy. It might be thinking that the pace on this compound not good enough, but yeah, going to go to the red compound. So that could have been a situation where they just wanted to get off that set of tires, maybe, because that is lap 12 is pretty early for a two-stop.
Yeah, and I was wondering about this because as we look here, Julian Alton getting passed by Alexander Ball. He's been kind of the cork in the bottle with the wing damage. I'm surprised that Alton doesn't come in. I think honestly he might benefit from doing something when Orman does come in, get the wing repaired, get off the black tires, get on the reds, adapt that strategy. And it'll help them lose a lot of time, because you're just losing a lot of time without that wing. And these guys are he's running about 2 to 3 seconds off the pace with that wing damage. That's how much just the half of that front wing is worth. But, I'm not surprised that we saw that move by Orman, because I was kind of anticipating some of these drivers to do that from what I've been hearing about the Blackwell tires. Guys just running it to meet the criteria, and then they can run reds till the end. And this is kind of the pit window has definitely opened up for that strategy. So we'll see if we have any more takers here. A lot of these drivers near the back here. Chris Stouffer, who just got on by Alexander Ball, actually on the reds. Stouffer on the blacks. Altona will come in.
And this was really, I think, just Altona. He was sticking it out so he could get to that window, and now he has. A little harder to get in pit entry because of the wing damage, but does it cleanly, and will give up some time because of probably having to repair that wing, and I assume getting on the red compound. I assume he will be getting on the red compound.
I doubt he would want to stay on the blacks from what I...
No.
Because specifically him, I heard him complaining about the blacks in the Blackwell tires in practice, so I think he can't wait to get off those tires. Looking at Chris Ante at the moment in 16th, he was on the push to pass, as well as Joe Branch up ahead. They were both trying to catch back up to Chris Stouffer. Now that they got Alton out of the way, holding them up, they can kind of unleash their cars a little bit more than they could in the couple laps prior, trying to work past a lap car. And I think it's amazing that drivers were having such a hard time to pass with Alton, but it's showing you how difficult this track is to make some passes. It's possible, but it's difficult.
Yeah, and they were really all stacked up because it was Alexander Ball who was the first to get to Alton. It just could not make that pass for the longest time. He finally did, and that was, it got more dirty air on the broken nose of the 11 and let everyone kind of get back in line. So now Alexander Ball has pulled away since then from Chris Stouffer. Instead of being a packed up line of about 5, they're getting incredibly spread out. As still no other takers, just those 2.
Stouffer with the lockup into the final corner there that we just saw on the screen. Branch a little bit of a poor entry into the corner and a poor exit. That's allowed the 26 of Ante to try to get a run on the back of Branch. Not able to get any purchase alongside, so he'll stay in behind. It's a great run through turn 1, but nowhere to go with it.
And nothing he could do about it, so just has to sit back in line and probably wait another lap to try that same move out of the final corner, as this is one of the closest battles on the racetrack. The next closest battle was for 4th. I thought Rashad Craig was about to go off track. Kevin Burrell from 2nd just pit. I was about to note he lost about 4/10 that lap to Traino, but then he comes down the pit. We'll see if he goes back-to-back reds, I would assume. I would think you want to go to the black tire in the middle stint, but looks like he's going to go back-to-back reds.
Yeah, I was going to say, and this is where that strategy comes in, right? You can make that choice. Do you want to go in the blacks? Maybe, put yourself a little bit slower. You might have a chance of getting some cleaner air to work with, and I think that's going to be the big thing for these drivers, is just getting in some clean air without any traffic in front, and that's what pitting can help. So the undercut from Kevin Burrell as he comes back on the track, see on the red tires, as you mentioned, Connor. So he'll be put back out in 8th, has a little bit of traffic up ahead as he gets them warmed back up to temperature.
Another key part of it as well, when you pit and exit, you want to be in clean air. 52, Burrell, he's not really going to be in the cleanest of air, but he's at least got a bit of a gap.
Traino's
just going to respond.
Yep. Off
See what
go.
Ike does. Ike will go long, get the clean air, try an overcut. So Andreas Ike will be the 3rd leader of this race. Oster Craig, they stay out. And this is, like you said, all really just in response to his rival for the win, Burrell. He's really the only driver that was keeping up. Andreas Ike was about 5 seconds behind those 2. This Traino will also pit for the red compound. We'll see what this rejoin looks like, because they could be somewhat close.
That's going to be the big thing, right? To see where you can see Traino exiting pit lane up ahead. And I think he should end up ahead. But the big thing, though, is that he's going to be out on colder tires. Burrell, the tires are warmed up at least 1 lap.
And look at the gap he's going to have in front. Traino got out in front of those 2 cars, so he has very clean air to contend with, and that is even more big.
He's got David Adams. That's not David Adams. Level in the 88. Walking to the outside. His tires are nice and warmed up. They're ready to go. He's mounting the pressure already on Traino, who's now just trying to get those tires warmed up to temperature.
Yeah, don't want to lose this spot if you're Traino. This clean air would be such an advantage. I think he's going to pull away just enough to where the 88 level can't do much about it. Dives in late, but I think at this point they're going to be warmed up enough where he can start to build that gap.
It's really this outlap that's so crucial. It can make or break the run, and for Traino, timed that perfectly to get out there from the pits in front of the traffic and has 2 cars of separation back to Burrell. So now Burrell's got to really rethink his strategy there, as David Adams, I think that was coming into the pit lane. Now just 1 car separating them. So unfortunately for Burrell, that did not quite work out.
No, and he usually doesn't in the Indy car. Really, it's the overcut that you usually want to try for, not quite the undercut. But tried something different, doesn't work out. And like you said, still going to have 1 car between them as Blebel stays out another lap while the 00 does not. Still waiting on a majority of other drivers to come down. It looks like David Adams actually, he's the first driver to go to the black tire compound. So we'll see how that goes for his middle stint.
Andrew Wood trying to pursue Hamilton Aquaboy as a battle for 8th between these 2 as the pit stop sequence started.
It's starting. It's definitely heating up. I was just noting Mark Murphy went a little wide on the exit of the final corner, as it looks like the 88's going to come in this time, from what I heard.
I'm not too surprised. These guys are pushing their limit here, coming on lap 18, approaching lap 19. So we're just going to see, I think, majority of the field that has not pit come in the next lap or 2. And the 88 will come on down, and that'll be good news for Kevin Burrell, who's finally got some clean air to try to get back to Brandon Trano. He's on in. Seb Alexander in the Ford line up ahead. He's also come in for his pit stop. A couple drivers staying out. Let's see anyone else comes on in. There is Hamilton Akabueze. Andrew Marquez will stay out. AJ Musselman will also stay out. So split strategy for the rest of the drivers as they approach the end of the fuel window. Andreas like still going long in his 76 machine.
Joe Branch from 14th comes in. Charles Ante also down into the pits. Everyone's in clean. One of the weirder pit entries because you got that tire barrier just kind of sitting there. If you you can't really push hard. You overshoot it, you're done. So gotta be very careful as Ike will come in lap number 19.
Yeah, you got a little bit of a kink and then almost like a hairpin left turn into the pit. So Ike will come in as we expect majority of the rest of the field to come on in. Jacob Oster, Rashard Craig coming in as well. Andrew Wood. Andrew Marquez, they're approaching. I expect them all to come in a moment's time. Rashad Craig, Jacob Oster is going to be interesting because they are nose to tail on the racetrack and in the pits.
And this will give the lead back to Brandon Trano over Kevin Burrell by about 1.2 seconds or so. So close between those two, but not as close as it was, as Christopher is going to be a lap down after that. And Andreas Ike will cycle out maybe 7-8 seconds behind, maybe more than that, than leaders, as Oster also off of pit lane.
Oster off of pit lane, Rachel Craig also in behind. No traffic approaching from behind. Alexander just saw him. He was the car that just raced around pit lane. He'll come back into 6th. Marquez waiting on his pit stop. He's out and away. Andrew Wood ahead of him. As a couple more cars go flying on by.
Wood, Marquez out. Not too many left to get out. Musselman's going to come out of his stall on the black compound tires.
And I think we've seen a majority of the field go on to reds for this stint, if I'm not mistaken.
Only a handful I've seen go on to the other compound doing the middle stint. It seems like a lot of drivers are just going to stick it out to the end and just hope the black compound isn't bad for the final run.
Look at the battle for the lead. Burrell, handful, not even really a handful of seconds, on a second and a half behind Brandon Trano, who took real good advantage of a lap car to make a move for the lead and has not looked back. He's probably checked his mirror occasionally. But at the moment, no immediate pressure off of Kevin Burrell for Trano, just a matter of making sure he doesn't make a mistake.
Burrell has to try his hardest to stay close in case Trano gets wrapped up in lap traffic. There's a few cars up ahead. Charles Ante 17th, Joe Branch in 16th, and they're battling for a position, so no incentive to get out of the way, but it's important for that 52, if he can, stay close enough to maybe take advantage back on the 9.
So as they run, David Adams, the highest running driver with the black wall tires, currently in 11th. And everyone else in front on the reds, a couple mixed drivers in behind. AJ Musselman has run his black tires, Alexander Bull, Joe Branch, and Dan Inge. Dan Inge actually yet to pit. He has to pit for his exchange. He's going to go, I assume, onto the red tires for the rest of this race. Andreas Ike's on the push to pass. We'll get past the lap car. So is Jacob Oster. He's trying to scamper away from Rashad Craig, who's in behind, trying to mount that pressure to see if he can get 4th.
One of the closest battles on the track for 4th. The next closest battle might be the one for 8th. Akabueze is going to be in the middle of that as well. As looks like the lap traffic's given way to Trano, so no issue there. It's Jesper Oerman in the 8th position, all the way up from 18th. So not a good qualifying run at all, but made the most of it so far.
Yeah, it's some decent race pace in that number 53 car. Interesting note, though, is that he is really low on the push to pass. He's only got 3 uses left. Everyone else is still over 5.
Very well might be why he's up to the 8th position.
Well, an interesting note is Hamilton Akabueze has 7 push to pass uses left, so that's the difference that they're looking at here, as far as who is going to be able to outpace the other towards the end. Akabueze's got a little bit more uses in the tank if he can get closer, and it looks like at this point in time he's a little bit quicker than Oerman. And again, Akabueze is still making up for what happened on lap 1. Back up in 9th after starting in 5th. Very Seca, I think I just saw him. He was on the button. Ray shot Craig. He's also using that push pass catch up to Jacob Oster.
Oster is a little bit faster at this point, so it's going to be tough to make that all up with just using push to pass. Overman just had a huge slide out of the final corner, kept it straight. Akaboise might have a run up the straightaway.
And
trying to defend, trying to weave a little.
Using the push to pass, that's why he's closing so quickly. Also going to turn one, not quite able to get that car there. Ooh, looks like Orman went a little bit wide, and the hairpin comes back for a tighter exit, keeps ahead. But again, like you mentioned, Akaboise's still got a lot more uses left. So you can play around with Orman. Of course, he doesn't know how many uses he has, unless he's listening to the podcast, as he gets a huge amount of understeer there. And that was just purely from riding in the dirty air of Jesper Orman.
Well, that might have been the actual dirt, too, as well. Got a little bit too wide compared to the curb, but good save, kept it straight. I think he is faster. Just got to get the run at the right time. Showed the nose in a turn number one, maybe forced Orman into a mistake, but wasn't able to do so quite yet. These two are going to battle pretty hard, but I think Akaboise should have this not too long from now.
It's always just a matter of getting this run out of the final corner, because everyone's saving up their push pass uses for this front straightaway. It's the longest straightaway on the track. We can get really the most money out of it. There he goes on the push to pass, right tucked up in behind the 53. Going to pull out to the left-hand side. Up and over the hill they go, down back into the Andretti hairpin, and off will go Akaboise up into 8th. A little bit of a lockup, though.
Yeah, solid pass. I don't know if they needed to use push to pass, but they used it anyways. Just makes it that much easier. You don't have to really deal with them in the turn number one. Had that lockdown before they even really got out of the Andretti hairpin, as David Adams and Andrew Marquez swapped positions as well in the turn number one. Almost the same sort of move.
Yep, Marquez also got on the push pass, was able to get by Adams, up into 11th for him. Get some action on the racetrack, more action brewing further on behind. Julian Altona again making up for his damaged wing. Really set him back a couple of spots. He's now set to go on the red tires after starting on the black, so it's potentially all up from here for the number 11 Altona. It's just a matter of just making sure he doesn't make any more mistakes to make his situation any worse, as he's trying to get past AJ Musselman, who's on the slower compound primary tire.
Yeah, this is the next closest battle on the track. Musselman is on that primary tire for this one stint, and he will be on the red tires for the final stint, which hopefully you won't lose too much position as they get tight in the corkscrew. I think Altona's a lot faster, but it's, you always say it doesn't matter what series. Catching's one thing, passing's another. Looked around the outside, and it looks like Musselman's just going to give him the position.
Ooh, that's a tricky place to make a pass, especially in an Indy car. That can get very dicey there. But he let him on through, and Altona able to make it through on the outside into an ultimate corner. That is dangerous ground in turn 10, but Altona will make it on through, up one spot to 13th, and now it's set to go. He's got 18 seconds up to David Adams. So here's Altona coming around out of the Andretti hairpin, and there is Adams. I think that is turn 5. Yes, that was turn 5. So big gap to make up for Altona if he wants to gain any more spots at this race.
Yeah, and that's what makes having damage and having to nurse it so much tougher. It just lose so much time, and thankfully for him, he was holding up a lot of other drivers, so it kind of brought them down with him, helped his positioning just that much more. But still, like you said, so much work to be done to try to get back up into another battle for position. Going to take a while as Brandon Trano continues to lead. He's into a corkscrew, still about a 1.6 second gap. Not considerably faster than Kevin Burrell, but you got to think that issue with the lap car in the final corner could have really dictated the outcome of this race, as Burrell was actually closed in a little bit this lap, but that was where the lead changed hands.
Here's where it changed hands, and I think they got a couple lap cars ahead in distance. Actually, there's one right there that pulled alongside. I believe, is that AJ Musselman, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, it is. So it's another one in between these two leaders. Musselman just gives him the spot, and then Julian Altona, who we were just talking about in that battle, he's not too much further up the road to get lapped, and he's running 13th position. Shows the pace of those top two.
There is Musselman letting Kevin Burrell on by. Doesn't want to be involved in the leaders' battle, so he will get out of the way. Second and a half between these two drivers at the moment, and I think it's really going to come down to what they're going to do as far as strategy for this final pit stop. Does Burrell go long, or does he wait for, or does he try to undercut Trano again?
Well, undercutting they're going to the Blackwall compound, it's not going to be. It might be faster a little bit at the beginning, but it's not going to be that much faster. So I don't know if undercutting is the way to go. But at the same time, usually the Blackwall compound, I would think you want to run it long. But we saw drivers pit early to get off that compound, so I'm not quite sure what Kevin Burrell is going to be able to do to even get by the 9. Might have to just straight up outpace him and pass him on track, and strategy might not be the way to go. But not fast enough to really catch the 9 back.
Next closest battle on the track is back for 15th. Charles Ante trying to chase down Alexander Ball just up the road. There he is in the number 12 machine. Ball starting in 17th up to 15th. Charles Ante started in 21st, is up to 16th. So both of them doing better than they were when they started this race. And now Ante actually down to under half a second, catching up in his Red Bull tires.
Yeah, he was about 9/10 of a second faster than Alexander Ball the last time by, so we'll see how long this ends up taking as another lap car. Altena lets Treno by way in the back as Ante is not close enough to really challenge in the corkscrew quite yet.
And not quite close enough there. I've seen only really a handful of passes into the corkscrew, and usually not that successful today.
We saw a cartwheel.
We did see a cartwheel. That was definitely something I wasn't expecting to see today. Cartwheeling on through.
We shouldn't see it again, but I won't put anything out of question. Never know what can happen up there. I think the Zanardi's pass. Jimmy Johnson got into it with Grosjean there a few years back. Joe Branch just went wide. He's just letting Rashad Craig in 5th by as still waiting. Charles Ante still trying to close in on Alexander Ball. Another few tenths faster, but still waiting to actually make the move. Looks like Ball is a little bit faster in the middle sector of this track, but everywhere else it's all Charles Ante.
Looking at a battle further back physically on the racetrack, but in the running order way up ahead. Jacob Oster in 4th, Rashad Craig in 5th. They can't get enough of each other. The battle's been kind of closing, expanding. Craig lost a little bit of time in the opening part of this second stint, but is starting to close the gap back a little bit. Lost a little bit through this next section of track. Back to Oster. Another battle close, Orman and Wood.
Orman's really struggling this run, as it looked like that gap of a lead extended maybe another 5-6 tenths because of Altena sitting in front of Kevin Burrell during the initial first sector of the track. Cost him about 7/10 of a second. The gap's around 2.2 now.
Yeah, that's how it's expanded. As you can see Burrell there in the background, there's Altena, who was just able to get on by. Treno also has another lap car up ahead. I believe that is David Adams. That is not David Adams.
Dan Ench.
Dan Ench, there we go. He's not had the best today. He's already 2 laps down. But this will go 3 laps down. Oh, it's going to hold Treno up a little bit there through turn 6. You can get out of the way now. Well, Kevin Burrell's also had a bad part of track. So he will get on through.
Gap at this point. I mean, at the very least, Kevin Burrell has options. About 8 seconds back to Andreas Ike. It would take a catastrophic mistake to lose that position, as I'm sure he's tired of catching a 22 in this corner. He's going to lose even more time to Brandon Treno. You could see that gap almost up to 2.9 seconds. So at this point, you got 3 seconds of Treno. You got another 7 behind you. It's going to have to be something extreme to even have a chance at getting up to the lead.
I have a feeling Kevin Burrell's not going to be a big fan of Dan Ench by the end of this race.
He's not a fan of the color yellow, I don't think.
cost him the lead effectively. And then
beautiful paint scheme on the 22,
yes,
though.
It is very beautiful.
I'm not going to enjoy seeing it.
But yeah, effectively cost him the lead in that final turn, and then now just in that final turn cost him another couple tenths of a second.
Yeah, so definitely not going to be happy. Jesper Orman, lap 30, he's going to be the first to come down for what should be his final stop, but once again, pretty early.
Yeah, he's wasting no time to, I guess, maximize this stint.
He did pit. He was the one who did pit lap 12, so.
Yeah. So this is kind of on schedule, maybe a little bit early. He's going to be running around 18 laps of this stint. Ran 17 on the previous one. There are the Reds back on the car and off and away, so he's set to go to the end as the pit stop window just now opens up. We're going to expect our next wave of drivers to kind of slowly come on down, similar to what we saw Indy first stint.
That should be another slow trickle, I would think. We'll gaggle in the final corners, including Alexander Ball, as Oerman's out of pit road and in decent air with one driver up ahead. As still Alexander Ball still been holding off Charles Ante, who's now going to have to let Jacob Oster in the 4th position by and get in the middle of this battle. And it looks like Ball will do the same, just getting squeezed off the exit, but still clean regardless. But they will both have to still pause their battle at some point to let Rashad Craig by, who's still trying to chase down Oster.
I was going to say he's going to be wishing these Indy cars had some headlights so he could flash at these two to get out of the way, because he wants to get clear and get up to Oster, and this is definitely one of the worst places of the track to catch a lap car.
Fast corners with dirty air on the nose, you lose so much time here. So it can cost you so much time. As you know, Kevin Burrell knows that very well. He's even further back now because Oerman actually had a little bit of an off. As there goes a little bit of an off there to let the drivers by, but Burrell's now 3.7 back because of Oerman's mistake in the corkscrew.
Look at what happened there. I lost track of the 12, what happened to him. And there's one car going on through, and then 12, there he goes off the track. I was wondering where Alexander Ball ended up in behind. Like a magic trick. So he ends up in behind, loses out a lot of time to Chris Ante, who's going to have to try to reel back in. It's going to be hard for him because he's on the slower compounded tire to do so. Rashad Craig continues up near the front, trying to catch back up to Oster. What time he lost, didn't lose a lot amount of time. I thought he was going to lose a lot more in that exchange, so that went as well as it probably could.
I would think so, and Alexander Ball is just going to be happy to have the car in one piece. He came dangerously close to hitting the tire barriers on the left side on the exit of the corkscrew, so thankful to have a clean car at this point. As the battle for 17th is getting close, Christopher has been chasing down Joe Branch for a little while here, up into the corkscrew and down the Rahal Straight. They will go up the Rahal Straight, I should say, as this battle is getting closer and closer as Kevin Burrell is in pit lane, lap 34.
Yeah, so Brad had a big left-oo and a lock-up there into the corkscrew. Had a big left in turn 6 to make sure he made the corner. As you mentioned, Burrell in. So Burrell going to do the undercut on Brendan Trano, and I imagine Trano's going to be coming in the next lap just to cover off his competitor. Doesn't want to leave anything on the table. Take a look at Stouffer trying to get a run. Does he hop on the push to pass? He's doing very conservative. He is actually, yes, he's the only driver still running competitive laps to yet use the push to pass. Still has all 10 uses he started with. Actually, it's less correction. AJ Musselman's also got 10 uses left.
So wait for the last 10 laps and go. I guess maybe that's what we'll see.
I would say he probably should have used it there to get past.
Probably use it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great opportunity, especially because Joe Branch is on the slower tire, so he's probably only going to be held up here by Stouffer. And also now he's got Julian Altena catching up to him. Altena just coming out of the pits. Yes, Altena just came out of the pits, so he's set to go to the end.
Brano stayed out another lap, so not going to immediately respond. Probably doesn't feel the need to.
Interesting, because if I was him, I would probably just want to come in just to cover off my competitors to not make sure he doesn't get any leg up. Burrell, how's he looking? I think he's had some clean open air, so that's a potential threat to Trano. Because Burrell, what hurt him before the previous time was that he's caught up in some lap traffic that wouldn't let him get on by.
Alexander Ball's in from the 14th position. Well, Bleb will just went a little wide to find a corner. Akaboise still trying to chase him down for position.
Yeah, actually that time, there's a look at the battle with Joe Branch and Stouffer. Branch jumped on the push to pass. He made a mistake though, and here comes Stouffer, but also here comes Julian Altena. So it's a three-way battle for 14th here.
And Altena was wishing for clean air, not going to get it. Going to probably have to make some passes here to use these red compound tires to their fullest use in these last 16 or so laps that he's going to run. You can see the grip difference just in that corner low, and even in dirty air, gets all the way on the nose. You can see he's weaving. He wants to go. He's upset he's getting held up, but it's all for position. Nothing Stouffer can do. He's battling for his own position because Stouffer and Branch are on the same strategy, so this is for position. He almost went drivers right there. That would have been dangerous.
Whoa. And almost outbrake Stouffer, almost hitting him in the back. He's trying to push hard now, use his tires. He doesn't want to be caught up any longer in behind, like you mentioned. And here they go, the penultimate corner, through the final corner. Altona, big dive on Stouffer, will go on through. And for Altona, will jump on the push to pass to see if he can try to get 2 for 1 here on the front straightaway.
Meanwhile, Brandon Traino's in and out of pit lane, well ahead of Kevin Burrell, so no change possible there. He will surely cycle out the lead, branch wide in that first corner as that's going on. As Altona's going to he did get that position on the exit of turn 1. That was a good move, and the extra grip played to his advantage.
Take a quick look back at how that played out. This is where we left the battle here. Altona backing up the corner, and there's Joe Branch going way wide. Altona thing, I got the grip, thank you very much. And off he will go up into 14th. Jesper Orman getting past David Adams because Adams is in the pits. As the pit stop cycle continues out, Brandon Traino is running right there through the penultimate corner for him. Burrell, the gap actually expanded out almost 5 seconds. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, just that undercut is not the way to go, but that's kind of because of that. So it's just going to be a run for second at this point. Had another pit stop there. I think it was Seb Alexander.
You know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say Alexander's in the pit lane, and also looked like Blebel came in as well. So Akabueze will overcut him, trying to get that 7th position.
What I also think didn't help, what I was going to say is that I think that we saw Traino undercut on the slower tire. So we saw Traino out there on the quicker tire making some laps, and so I think that definitely didn't help change the balance. And then you might question, I'm sure it's going to be the back of the mind for Traino, or not Traino, Burrell, if he maybe switched to the medium, not the medium compound, sorry, wrong series, the primary tire, if that would have helped him maybe offset, maybe have a better run here in the later going. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20. Now they're back on the same tire, 5-second separation. I think it's going to require a mistake from Traino, who've yet to actually see him make really any mistakes.
No, he doesn't make really any mistakes, so that's wishful thinking. It's going to have to take something catastrophic with another car to probably have something like that happen, as Charles Anthony pits from 13th, still waiting on a few others to pit. Andreas Sykes still going long, continues to lead, getting the fresher tire to the end. Christopher and Akabueze pit at the same time. There's a stack up on pit entry behind Joe Brandt. Akabueze passed both of them on pit entry as they stacked up. That was incredible. He had to pass both drivers on entry after Joe Branch must have overshot or whatever. Watch this.
Let's see if we can get the best view of this. Didn't really have a headshot in the pit lane. There's the mistake from Joe Branch. Hamilton Akabueze saying, "Excuse me, pardon me, I got places to be. Thank you very much." Got to ride on board with that. Hey, let me see if we can find Hamilton Akabueze there. Get a look at his point of view from that situation.
Just picked the wrong lap to pit, really.
Yeah, this is. I kind of wonder why he didn't just decide to go a little bit long. I'm not sure how his stint was looking.
That was good thinking to do that regardless, but it's going to cost him as Branches overshot pit exit while live. You can see him in the background there, so he's going to lose even more time because of missing pit exit. I'm still surprised we haven't seen more of that today because it is tough to do on cold tires.
Yeah, it's tough to do on cold tires. You got to be careful. Here's a couple more drivers in a pit lane. Craig and Oster coming in simultaneously again, and almost pitting and up on the jack simultaneously. It's like a ballet between these two.
Yeah, Andreas Ike also just coming out of pit exit. You can see how slow you have to be on cold tires to get through that pit exit. Very treacherous.
Here comes Craig and Oster.
They've been with one another for really this entire race since it got spread out. It's going to be another battle between those guys to the end.
So here's what gets a little bit more interesting. Pedro Bubble now finally offset from these drivers. Now he's the highest running driver on the red faster alternate tire. Has a chance to make up time. That being said, though, he's 11 seconds back from Seb Alexander. Question is, does he have enough time? That's about it. He's got to make up, what, a second a lap? And then not only that, you know, we always say catching one thing, passing is another, and that is probably going to be no more true than on a track like here with this car.
Joe Branch is back in, I assume, to serve a penalty. Andrew Wood is also in with front wing damage, so he's had an off somewhere. He was in 8th position. Looks like coming onto the
this is turn 6.
Straight.
What happened to Wood here? Did he catch the anti-cut curbing? Ran wide and got loose.
No, I don't know if he hit the curbing, but it came out from under him while throttling up on the exits.
I think it's just because, again, he's on the slower tires, he's got less grip.
Yeah, it's just ran out of grip completely, and he's going to retire from this race. And that's only our, let's say, our fifth retirement of this race. Brian Carey, Christian Steele, Joshua Tucker, Mark Murphy, and now Andrew Wood will be the fifth retirement after a little off there.
I want to take this time again to thank the sponsor for this race, and that is 4D Racewear. 4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoe and custom apparel, designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D sim racing shoes are custom engineered to connect racers to the pedal in a way that no other racing shoe can, and still provide all the comfort needed for those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the original racing gloves for your feet. You're going to got to thank them for sponsoring the race here as we're entering its final stages, with Brandon Trano up in the lead by 5 seconds back to Kevin Burrell. Don't want to seal the deal yet, but for Trano, it's looking pretty good. Everything looking in his favor. Burrell's trying to chase him down. Andre's Ike a couple seconds back in third. Got really no competition. He's pretty much in no man's land. He's 8 seconds behind, 8 seconds in front of Jacob Oster. Oster has been constantly having his mirror full of this black and green car in behind. But Rayshad Craig, he's been trying to chase him back down. Second and a half in behind. Seb Alexander back in sixth, and then Pedro Blewell, again, we mentioned the fastest driver, or was currently one of the fastest drivers on the track because he's on the faster red compound, the highest running driver doing so.
Yeah, Hamilton Echo Boys is back in the 8th position, also on the black lettered compound tires. He had a shot to get the 88, but that pit entry getting held up that much kind of ruined any chance of him getting out in front of the 88. Jesper Orman, we pit one of the earliest around lap 30, so he's on the red compound, but the tires are much older in that 9th position. Then Andrew Marquez a little further back is rounding out the top 10. It's another 10 seconds back from Orman to Marquez, and Marquez is not really on his own. David Adams is a little bit faster in that 11th position. Actually, the last driver on the lead lap is that 00 of David Adams, who's had a decent climb, 15th to the 11th position. There's been a number of drivers who have climbed into the top half of the field after starting at the back.
Definitely have been a number of those drivers. Now we're going to see a lot of the guys on the red compound tire, and nearly the entire back half of the field on red tires, the entire front half of the field on the black tires. So we're going to see the difference, trying to see some of these guys cutting through the order. Again, there's a decent amount of separation on the track between these two groups, but the gaps have been closing down fairly quickly. It's a matter if it's going to be quick enough. David Adams on the push to pass. He's only got 2 remaining. Andrew Marquez has got 8 remaining, so I think if I'm Andrew, I would start to use those a little bit more, especially with David Adams breathing down his neck with a faster tire.
Yeah, the good thing about this, we're pretty much coming about 8 laps to go, so he's really just has to use it every straightaway, and there's probably not much the 00 can do to get by him besides a mistake. So if you're Andrew Marquez, you just can't make a mistake. Keep it on track, keep it in the middle of the track, really, and David Adams is going to have to get very aggressive to make this pass work, I would think. And it's definitely not going to happen from that far back, because he really dove it in, though, but not close enough.
Not quite close enough as they work their way on through the corkscrew. Marquez staying up ahead, and then if I'm him, start to get that button queued up and ready to go. Definitely going to need to do it, because you can bet that Adams is going to do everything he can to try to get on past him. But that's the thing, and these drivers don't exactly know how much time how many uses of push to pass they have remaining. Marquez is on the push to pass to defend, and I think like what you're saying, I think he's waiting for the magic number. And with the amount of laps he has left to go, now just needs to keep hitting that button to make sure he can stay up ahead. Yes, for Orman trying to still catch up to Hamilton Aquaways. It's the next closest battle on the racetrack between these two for 8th.
Yeah, Jacob Oster is kind of pulled away from Rayshad Craig. It's over a 2-second gap at this point, so that battle might finally be getting settled once and for all. But Blebel is trying to chase down. He's trying to chase down Seb Alexander, who's had a very quiet day himself in 6th position. But like you said, that battle for 8th and for 10th are going to be probably the 2 hottest battles to the end.
That's the gap looking at Alexander to Bubble, but I think for Bubble it's just not enough time that he's making up. 108.7 was actually slower than Seb Alexander, even though they have the same tire life in both compounds, but Bubble is not quite able to find the pace that he needs at the moment.
Not quite as Akaboyze. Akaboyze a little bit of a slip up there from what it looked, but I don't think Orman's going to have the tire life left to really battle the 107, so just, decent undercut, going to get him a top 10. Ooh, hit the curb there, though. Really slid, but either way, still straight. And Marquez is, like we keep talking about, just a few push passes every other lap. Should be good, because almost starting to look like David Adams is not hanging with the 36.
He's kind of hanging in, but he's hit that kind of wall, right? You don't want to. You obviously can't get right up to the back wing of these cars because you're just going to lose all your downforce through some of these high downforce corners. So you got to kind of keep about a half-second gap. Make sure you can make it to the corner without compromising yourself. But other than that, he's not been able to really do a whole lot. He's a lot closer here into the corkscrew. And I think what he might have to do is just maybe try to look at making a move in the corkscrew. If he can't make it on the straightaway. He does have some push to pass remaining, but again, with Marquez, with the amount of laps remaining, he can just kind of hit the button and he's all in the clear. So he's really got to come up and be creative here.
He can't really rely on doing it down the straightaway because of that lack of push to pass. He has to get a run into a corner, maybe make the pass before getting on the corner exit, then maybe use one of your push to passes to defend after you make that pass out of a corner. That's going to be tough to do, but as far as keeping this position, that might be his only route to keep it.
Might also maybe potentially want to use the push to pass up after turn 6 to the corkscrew. It's not that long of a straightaway, but again, that's another option he has available to him because at the rate they're going at, he might not have enough tire to make a move on Marquez. And this is the really closest, one of the closest battles on the racetrack, other than the Akaboyze-Orman fight that actually is starting to heat up a little bit more now that I say that. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, Adams is much closer here, but Marquez kind of weaving around the track using the line and the way it curves just well enough to where, Adams couldn't really do anything because there was really no lane to go without crashing. So that was smart on Andrew Marquez's part.
So they'll remain in formation here as Adams, I think he's just trying to get as close to the back of Marquez as possible, try to force him into a mistake, overdrive his tires. We have seen, we saw with Andrew Wood, you can definitely make a mistake on these tires and spin out if you push them a little bit too far and ask them a little bit too much.
We've seen David Adams already slide just a little bit out of some of these corners, pushing really hard in the wake of the 36 of Andrew Marquez is trying to stay with him. You can see he's missing the curbs, missing apexes, getting a lot of grass. Meanwhile, Akaboyze has really lost the back of that 107, but Orman's just got nowhere to go. Looks driver's right, trying to maybe do a crossover to get a better run, did not work.
And you saw there Akaboyze just staying in the middle of the track, making that car as wide as possible to prevent Orman from getting on through. Great defense from Akaboyze, just constantly now looking in his mirror for what's going to feel like forever. In these last 4 laps, they come on through. Oh,
really
man.
big slide.
Yeah, Orman actually got on the push to pass, I think maybe a little bit too early. You're going to see right here. You can see the steering wheel light up green as he hit it, and I think that gave him too much power, so he actually pretty much completely threw away use there.
Yeah, that's tough to get. That's tough. Just completely wasted it as Marquez is now using a push to pass just to get away from David Adams. I don't believe Adams was on the button that time either, but
he's saving up. He's saving up his final 2.
As long as he can stay close while evening out the push to passes, that's all right. Gives him at least a little bit of a shot.
Yeah, the fresher, I shouldn't really say fresher tires, the faster tire and the slipstream on the straightaways is definitely helping him as we look back here at these two. No change up near the front, so we'll continue to look at these battles as the rest of the order has pretty much stabilized after the final round of pit stops.
Not many other battles on track. Charles Anti and Andrew Musselman are actually pretty close for position.
No, they are actually really close.
So they are a lap down, but still battling for position. Every position matters in this points fight. I don't know who's faster than the other. I believe they're both on the red compound,
yes.
So no tire compound difference, but they're nose to nose.
They can either fight 13th between both these drivers is what they're competing for. Still keep my eyes on the other 2 battles we're watching here. Everything's kind of starting to heat up here near the end in the midfield.
Well, Brandon Trano's just taken 2 laps to go. Kevin Burrell not gained too much. Once again, it seems like when there wasn't lap traffic dictating their times, it seemed like they're pretty even, but Burrell's lost he's at least lost 6 seconds on lap traffic alone. That's put him about 5 seconds below Brandon Trano. 5.6 actually.
Joe also just looking at him, he's back in 12th, and he's really in middle of no man's lane. He's 24 seconds off David Adams here, is trying to chase down Andrew Marquez. And then he's got 21 seconds back to him with AJ Musselman.
They really shove it into the corkscrew.
Orman and Aquez, they both on the push to pass.
How many they have left? They're coming up on Alexander Ball. We'll see if he plays a factor in this battle as Orman looks to driver's right, trying to get that crossover, maybe pressure the 107 a little bit, not working. Akaboys is off the corner pretty well to get that gap, but now gonna start to get a little bit of dirty air from Alexander Ball in a few moments here as Brandon Trano takes the white flag.
White flag out for him as we look just up ahead of him physically on the racetrack. There he actually is approaching this battle up to the guys in front. He has got no reason to get past them, so I don't think he will try to make a pass on either one of them as he works to start his final lap after near complete domination up near the front. 32 laps led from the number 9 machine. Has had a fantastic run.
Just kind of the story to his season, just been so dominant. And this is part of the reason why he's going to be getting an even bigger points lead coming after this race. Look at this.
Ante Musselman side by side for a position. They're both on the push to pass. And the looks like 26 of Ante will get on by Musselman. As we head into the final corner, Brandon Trano coming out of the final corner. Off he will go. A fantastic display of domination for the number 9, win number 8 of the season, going to Brandon Trano, with Kevin Burrell finishing distantly behind in second place. Taking a look at the battles that we're chasing the last half a lap. Hamilton, Aquez, Jesper Orman, battle still kind of extended out. Marquez and Adams just ahead of the leaders. They're able to continue their final lap.
Yeah, last lap, David Adams hit the curb in turn number 3 or 4 pretty hard. Lost a lot of time to Andrew Marquez, and same thing, Jesper Orman. He's fallen off Akaboys a little bit too much to, I think, actually battle for this into a final corner.
Aquez is trying to make it through these final few corners. After he gets out of the final corner, I think is when he can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Off he'll go on through, back on the throttle. No further mistakes for him. We'll seal the deal for 8th place, Orman in 9th. Looking back at Marquez and Adams as they work through the final series of corners. Adams, it was tough for him, put up a fight. Fortunately, couldn't quite get there to Andrew Marquez. They will come out around the final corner and across the start-finish line to round out our finishers. Of course, with Brandon Trano being the race winner.
Why he's got now 8 wins on the season, just incredible speed. It's so hard to beat him in a season-long championship, let alone every other race, and that's why he's going to extend that point lead even further now.
Working back to the start-finish line, thing ready to burn it down. Again, for the 8th time this season, a fantastic run from this race. He had to fight hard for it, though. Started in 3rd, made an immediate move to 2nd on the opening lap, and then got past Kevin Burrell when the opportunity presented itself and never looked back. Lighting him up on the front straightaway right there in front of your eyes.
Perfect
Taking
circle.
a look. Yep, I was going to say perfect circle. You can tell he has had some practice. There you look at your finishing order. Trano, Burrell, Ike, your top 3 with Jacob Oster, Rashad Craig, Seb Alexandro, Pedro Blebel, Hamilton, Akabuezi coming back to 8th, Jesper Orman in 9th, and Andrew Marquez rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, 5th to 8th for Akabuezi, but doesn't show his full race rundown. He had a crazy race. He was off track, pushed off track early, and it was a good recovery after that. But you think he could have fought for a podium if it wasn't for that. As you look outside the top 10, David Adams, Altena, who recovered himself after wing damage, put him down the order earlier in the race. Charles Ante and Musselman battled that out to the end. The 26 actually got by the 54. And then Ball, Stouffer, Branch, Dan Ench finishes 18th, 4 down. Then everyone else behind. A retirement from this race. Andrew Wood late. Mark Murphy, didn't see him go off either.
Yeah, I was going to say he had it off at some point, and then we get to the final page of finishers, and it's just so unfortunate to see. We're talking about how close the championship battle is getting. There is some drop weeks these guys can work with, but again, for Christian Steele, I don't think he wanted that drop week. He wanted another solid finish in this tight fight for the championship. He's going to be relegated back to 22nd. Brian Carey rounding out the finishers also went off on the first lap when cartwheeling through the corkscrew, which is obviously, I think, not the optimal way through that corner. Rounding out your field of 23 finishers here. We'll see who we got to talk with here in just a moment. Anyone waiting in the Discord? We got Kevin Burrell with us, our second place finisher. We'll have a talk with him. Kevin Burrell, SYM TV booth. You got a copy?
Hey.
Hey, glad to hear with you, Kevin. We saw you there. You obviously started on pole. You had a quick car. Unfortunately, weren't up in front at the end. Walk us through how your race went.
Man, first of all, I'm just so happy to, sorry, you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. No, I had to change my device. I'm just, Trano is someone that, is like basically, I could say, an inspiration for me at IndyCar. Him, Blocker, those guys, they're the benchmark for me. Every time when I see them race, they're the benchmark. So when I put it on pole today, I was like just excited out of my mind, and I think my heart rate went up to like 180 ppm, and it never really went down. When I saw I was pulling away from him in the first stint just a little, I was like, maybe there's a chance, but traffic kind of ended that, and hey, what can I say? I was just too nervous to try and defend it, and then it just it kind of all went downhill from there, but I'm still very, very happy.
I think definitely still a very solid finish for you. Nothing to scoff at, especially looking at your previous results. Would we see? I mean, it seems like you do really well on the road courses. So I think, if we're not mistaken, have Long Beach coming up. And
yes.
Yeah, Long Beach coming up in April, and even Barber after that on the 14th. So could we expect to see you back for that?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, normally, I would try and run the entire season of this series, but once we lost the Indy license last year, I don't know, I lost some motivation.
I feel you.
For those who don't, I live in Japan, so
really,
this race, yes. So this race and the Open SOF are like 9 a.m. my time, and so 2 days consecutively of that, getting up at like 8 to be too tired and then race in the morning is that's a little bit of a toll on me. So, but hey, we got the license back. The series is good. The drivers are good. I'm very happy.
Wow, I gotta say, I was not expecting you to say you're living in Japan. That's amazing that you're able to get up in the morning and do that. I know I need a couple hours to kind of recuperate and get going, but props to you for joining us here. And again, congratulations on your second place finish.
Thank you. Yeah, just if I can real quick thank
sure.
Our team sponsors, of course, Dr. Dabber, Muradness, Nemesis Lab, Ellis Engineering, and of course Adam Crane and Christian and all the Indy guys at the team at Satellite. It's a blast, and I'm hoping we see more of this and less of me finishing P nowhere. This is really good.
Well, Kevin,
guys, have a good one.
Thanks for talking to us. We'll see you.
See ya.
Moving on to our next finisher. We don't have Andreas Ike in third, but we do have Jacob Oster in fourth place. Jacob, it's been a while since we had a chance to talk to you since we last covered Indy Elite. Glad to have you back in the booth. Unfortunately, didn't finish in the top three, but still solid fourth place finisher. And of course, you had Rayshot Craig constantly in your mirror throughout most of this race. How are you able to keep him at bay?
Mainly just we had a good car underneath us. Brandon Trano, the winner of the race, developed a very, very good car that drove really consistently and didn't really have any shortfalls that I found. I didn't have a lot of practice for this race, so I showed up like as soon as practice started, and that was my lap. So I was able to kind of lock in pretty easily and just have a clean nose in front of me, and it made the race a whole lot easier.
Well, Jacob, obviously looking to the rest of the season. You're currently third in the standings. You're, looking at the raw standings, you are a bit out of it. 120 points. There are some drop weeks. Going into the next couple rounds. How are you feeling as far as you being able to put yourself to Christian Steele and Brandon Trio for a championship?
I don't know. I don't think I can challenge Trano. I think that's pretty much sealed up, even if you miss the next 4 races. It's going to be close between Steele and I, especially if Rob can run the last couple races. It's pretty tight between all of us. Even Hamilton is on the fringe and the outside. So it'll be a fun little battle between teammates to get this season over and see who finishes where they finish.
All right, well, Jacob, a solid run for you in 4th place tonight. Hopefully you have some more runs better for the rest of the season. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, guys.
And last but certainly not least, we'll be talking to Brandon Traino. Brandon, we didn't get a chance to talk to you last time out at Gateway. Unfortunately, had a poor finish there. I think your worst finish by a long shot for this season. And here you're coming home now with your 8th win of the season. Of course, you didn't get to cover all of that, but how have you been able to pull that off?
Yeah, last week was a bit unfortunate. We had obviously that incident, just a racing deal pretty much. Just everybody trying to stay off each other and ended up getting into each other. But yeah, we had a really good race car this week. We had a really good setup put together, and it worked well on both compounds. So really happy to walk away with the win, and had a really good battle there with Kevin for the majority of the first stint.
And obviously, you've been on your A game as far as performance this season with those 8 wins. Do you feel, coming into these last couple rounds that we have remaining, do you feel like you're secure in your title hopes, or are you still kind of looking over your shoulder? You don't feel like it's over quite yet?
It's hard to say with the couple of drop weeks that everybody has. I have to sit down and kind of do the math to see where we stand. But we have Texas next week with double points, so if you don't have a good finish there, it really hurts you. So main goal is really just to kind of finish these races with a couple, top 5, top 10s, and not have another DNF, and hopefully last maybe a race or two. It's not too stressful.
All right, Brandon, thanks for talking to us. Really solid run for you here at Laguna Seca, and I imagine it's probably not going to be the last time we're talking to you here in the booth.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, and with that, Connor will be rounding out interviews here from Laguna Seca as we look at our race results. Fairly distant, as far as the gaps, but some pretty solid racing, especially in the midfield.
Had great battles to the end for sure. It was pretty close for the 8th position. Akaboy's getting that position after the recovery from the lap 1 incident. Traino dominant after the lap traffic kind of slowed Kevin Burrell just enough in the final corner early in this race. That was the difference. That was the pass for the win, and even we didn't know it at that point, but it ended up being so. In a good solid run for Andreas Ike in the 3rd position. That is back-to-back podiums in this season. So that points lead is going to extend a little bit more for Brandon Traino, but another solid night of racing. It was very, very fun. This track usually delivers some good solid racing throughout the entire field, all the way from the battle for first, all the way in the 20th position.
Yeah, and definitely want to stick around. The season is not over yet. We'll be coming back for SYM TV coverage for the next round, and that's going to be one of the Triple Crown races at Texas. That's going to be on March 17th for this series. You're definitely going to be around for this series. These guys do fantastic on the oval circuit, so that's going to be definitely one to watch. And we're really wrapping up the season. Got Long Beach Barber, and then of course the Indianapolis 500 at the beginning of May. I want to give a special thanks again to 40 Racewear for sponsoring this race here at Laguna Seca for the Indy Elite Series. Round 12 is complete. We'll be heading off next to Texas. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.